Hey, you guys, this is Valerie Z.
And this is Ilka D. And this is the You Unscripted podcast,
where we empower you to speak your truth by tapping in to your authenticity. Hey, you guys, this is Valerie Z.
And this is Ilka D.
And this is the You Unscripted podcast. And this is episode 6. What are we talking about today, Ilka?
Oh, man. There's so much to talk about today. It's ridiculous. But Valerie and I were having this interesting discussion, as we always do. We talk all the time about different things. But today, in preparation for our chat, we went through a couple of different topics. And, we kept coming back to this kind of central notion of the fact that what you are feeling, what you are carrying with you is in fact in abundance. Your feelings that you carry inside you connect with the thoughts that you're having about those feelings, and those things consume you. Valerie, how would you say that?
I would say whatever we're carrying in our heart, whether it be darkness or light, will flow out of us in abundance. That's why I think doing our inner work and healing and speaking our truth, just like how we do on this podcast, or how someone would do in therapy, or how somebody would do in a safe space with trusted friends. That's why doing that type of inner work is so important, because being able to heal that which we carry in here will allow us to transform that darkness into something neutral or positive. Ideally, it would be something positive, but at least if we can neutralize that darkness or neutralize that negativity, then it's not going to spew out of us into the world around us. Does that make sense?
Sure. Well, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, that is why Valerie is a fairy. She exists on another plane. She has done the work. She has won the work. For those of us who are not on the same plane as our dear Val, and of course we all aspire to be.
Dear Val.
For those of us who are not on this plane, let me put it to you another way. And I love this about Valerie and I, is that we have very similar ideologies, but different perspectives on getting there, right?
I love that.
But I'm with it. I'm with it all day long, because this is what enriches your life, is having friends who you can disagree with or agree with. But at the end of the day, you're open to their perspectives, good or bad, about yourself, right? You got to be willing to take it from a real friend. You got to be willing to listen when you're dealing with a real friend, because a real friend is going to call you on your shit. Right. And that's not always a negative. Like, that doesn't mean, oh, they're going to be rude or disrespectful. No, but they're going to put it to you very straightforward, very not candy coated, right? Very raw. And they're going to say, you have something to be held accountable for. So this is that. This is a healthy version of that, right? What I love about this dynamic is that I don't have to agree, and that I can also question. Like, I asked Valerie so many questions that it's crazy. Now, she doesn't always have all the answers, but definitely has the experience to walk me through those thought processes and help me where I get stuck, because I tend to stick on certain things that are triggers or sensitivities to me, right? We all have that. But this is a good question, because I understand what she means here when she says, right, that light or darkness that flows through you will flow out of you, and that's how you're going to function in the world. Okay. For those of us who are dealing with a different perspective, what that really means is, if you're angry inside, you're going to be angry on the outside. If you're hurt inside, you're going to be hurt on the outside. And you may, like me, like I used to, you may be incredible at functional depression or functional anger or functional whatever the hell else, right? You're able to put on a straight face or whatever face you need to get the job done, but you may internally be living in a thunderstorm. And eventually, that's going to make its way out, and that's going to impact the world outside of you. So how do we reconcile with that? How do we come to terms with the shit that is brewing and thundering and storming inside us for whatever reason? How do we come to terms with that so that we don't allow it to impact the world outside of us in a negative way? What do you guys out there in the world listening, what do you guys do when you are in a situation? Let's say, for instance, you're at work. You're at work and you're having a conversation with a coworker, or you're having a conversation with your boss. And at that exact moment, you have a recollection of the argument that morning with your daughter, who just came back from a visit with the other parent, meaning your ex, whatever, partner, husband, wife, whatever. You guys don't get along. That person is insane for every reason that you can come up with, negatively impacting your kids, negatively impacting the child or children that is still caught up in the web of visitations. And your child got up this morning, handed you a fresh plate of bullshit, and you got to go to work. You don't have time. You don't have time to process through it all. You don't have time to help them process through it all. You just got to cut through the shit, get them to school in enough of a sane way for them to have the semblance of a good day. You take your ass to work. And as you're having this conversation with your boss or coworker that has nothing to do with the situation, boom, hit you like a ton of bricks. What is going on? At that moment, you are in just a fucking storm, just immediately in storm mode, right? But you can't break character. You're talking to your boss. You're talking to your coworker. This is important, right? This is real shit. This is how you get paid. You cannot break character. What do you do to get through that? Because we all go through that, whether it be for a personal reason or some other reason, but we're all going through that at some point in our lives. How do we handle that? Because I'll start with myself. Today's example of not losing your shit with Ilka is actually something kind of similar to that. I am struggling with a situation that has negatively impacted my children. But here's the thing. End of the day, right? You never want to pull the kids into the crap. You want to do your best to keep it chill. You cannot just automatically blame the other person for everything, nor should you, nor is it always their fault. Sometimes it's no one's fault, right? Or I'll flip this example. You had an argument with your ex-boyfriend, your current girlfriend, the person that you're interested in, and you guys are getting close. And all of a sudden you realize, hey, wait a minute, there's something I don't like about this person, right? Whatever is brewing the storm inside you. Valerie, how do we deactivate the bomb so that we don't make this worse for ourselves because of a moment of anger, rage, pain, hurt, whatever it is? How do we not make this worse for ourselves?
Well, I am a communicator at heart. So if I am feeling uncomfortable or triggered, there's two things that I can do right then and there. I can either choose to remove myself if it's, really toxic. Say, for example, the situation that you talked about with the boss. It's very hard to remove yourself from a situation like that because you might be in a meeting. If that's the case, and let's say it may be a toxic work environment. Maybe you have a condescending boss and that's triggering. I think that the best thing to do in a situation like that is maintain professionalism and then let it out later, whether that be in the restroom and, wash your hands, splash water on your face or go say a prayer. But you don't want to make a scene. You just don't. Take a deep breath. Take 2 or 3 deep breaths.
Yeah, that, like, what Valerie is saying is not new to anybody. We've all heard this. Count to 10. 1, 2. What the fuck? Count to 10. Before I even get to 1, it's like, Arr! But here's the thing. There are those of us, I think, that emotionally, even though we may not be comfortable expressing our emotions in a way that allows for that to be communicated properly to the other person, other party, whatever the case, it always seems to me like those of us that have a hard time with that communication in an interpersonal like situation can in other situations pop off with a quickness and make our disdain very clear and very heard quickly.
So that's what I was going to get to next is there's a situation where you might want to remove yourself, but sometimes you can't. Like if it's in a work meeting, you're going to have to push it down in a sense and maintain professionalism so that you can be able to communicate to your boss or to a coworker what your concerns are.
Did everybody get that? There are 4 syllables in communicate.
Communicate.
Right?
And I am a communicator at heart. I love to talk about things. I'm very comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. And that I feel like is my specialty, where if something should come up where I'm feeling uncomfortable or a concern happens to surface, which it does, then I am a believer that we should be able to talk about things. We should be able to put it on the table and say, yeah, I don't agree for these reasons. And I think maybe this would probably be a better idea, or that would probably be a better idea because your idea, it sounds great. However, when it comes to being efficient, I don't think that it's the most time efficient way to do this, right? Or if it's a relationship, for example, then you're going to have to get really comfortable with expressing your emotions in a way that is respectful. Obviously, you want your partner to know if they made you feel a certain type of way. So you're going to have to get really good at regulating your emotions so that you can communicate the emotion instead of acting out the emotion onto them.
Point well made. Ding, ding, ding. We need special effects on this show.
Yeah, I think that there is a feature here.
We will get that because we need bells and buzzards and because that's a very good point. You should be able to discuss your emotions, to talk about your emotions, not necessarily act them out. It doesn't mean that you cannot feel what you're feeling. You are entitled to feel angry. You are entitled to feel hurt. You are entitled to feel sad. You are entitled to feel betrayed. You are entitled to feel not treated as you expected. But here's the thing, you guys. I find more and more as I'm going through this process and I'm talking, I talk to anybody who will listen about life. Now I talk to anybody who will listen, who wants to share about just going through a process where you do, regardless of what has happened to you, regardless of the depth of the most profound betrayal or the most profound just fuckery. At the end of the day, whatever you define that as, it's just that. At the end of the day, someone has wronged you. And that is real. And no matter whether they gaslight you, no matter whether they ignore you, no matter whether they deny it, it is true. And you know it's true. And it is hurting you and it is eating you up inside. That still doesn't give you the right to come unglued. It doesn't give you the right to disrespect your coworkers. It doesn't give you the right, Val, to lose your fucking shit and go off on your boss because you're distracted and you're not paying attention, or because that boss on that day just happened to say some off shit to you and it's like, boom, 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 right? You come back swinging. Those are not the ways to deal with your strong, acute emotions. That is not the way. It's communication is such a big thing. And we go back, I want to go back to reminding everybody why we're having this conversation. We're talking about the nasty storm that you carry inside you that is literally sitting on your chest, that pressuring feeling of pain or hurt or loss or whatever it is that is creating the negativity inside you is going to radiate outwards, regardless of how much you try to suppress it at some point. It is going to find its way out. So Valerie made a very good point. She said, we can talk about our feelings. We don't have to act them out. So let me hit that for a second, because that's exactly what we end up doing when the cup runneth over, when the volcano finally erupts, because you haven't dealt with what is causing that. You haven't dealt with look, people, we don't need someone else to validate your hurt, your pain, your betrayal, whatever they did to you that is hurting you. You don't need the other person to actually say, yeah, I did it. Yeah, I hurt you. Yeah, I cheated on you. Yeah, I robbed you. Yes, I lied. And yeah, I kind of lied to you because I really didn't like you, but you were really good to me and you literally paid for my entire lifetime and you were so good that I couldn't just leave that shit. You're great. You got deep pockets. You'll do whatever it takes for me and I could just kick it. Of course I wasn't going to leave you. But no one is going to actually say that shit to you. You're going to figure it out the hard way. And when you figure it out, you're like, oh, the fucking temerity of that person to take from me and hurt me and stomp on me and use me. And you are absolutely right. Val, are they right to feel? Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, you are right. Fuck that person with the whole super cocked back F. Fuck that person, bro. But
yes.
Valerie,
However,
does that change? Does that change? You're right. You're going to say it. Does that change anything? It changes nothing. For us to recognize that changes nothing. What changes our perspective from hurt to light, from dark to light? What helps us do that?
it's shining the spotlight on ourselves to figure out why we didn't step out of that situation sooner. What held us in a situation like that for so long? You are entitled to feel every emotion that you want to feel, but you are not entitled to take it out on everybody. So it's your responsibility to regulate that emotion so that you can communicate that emotion to whoever is causing pain, destruction, hurt, whatever it is. Sometimes it's inadvertently. However, you've got to get to the point where you can communicate that need to somebody, whether it be for someone to be more caring, more considerate, more respectful. And you will encounter people that will try to exploit those good parts of you. I can tell you that I have done a lot of work on myself. And just because I'm on this plane of consciousness and having healed so much and come such a long way, that doesn't mean that I'm going to be a doormat. That doesn't mean that I'm going to allow somebody to exploit these positive qualities that I have. I express my boundaries sharply.
Did you guys hear that? I express my boundaries sharply. What? Stop the car sharply. Look, she's making a very good point, you guys. Just because you're pissed off because this has happened to you again does not mean that we have the right to project. And we're all guilty of that. We're all guilty of someone else doing something to us that hurt, angered you, caused you sorrow, whatever the case might be. And you're just in a fit. You have a right to your emotions, but you're in them. And at that point, you start swatting away the world. You start swatting away at your kids. You start swatting away at your coworkers. You start swatting away at your friends. Everyone's annoying you. You're just in a bad mood. You're frustrated. You're fed up. And at some point, that's going to pop off at the wrong person. Now the worst happens, because now at that point, you're just fucking pissed. Now it's like, oh, great. Now I've hurt someone else, right? You feel like you're sinking in a hole of just everybody is after me. No one gives a fuck about me. I've done this and this and this for everybody. You're feeling worthless. You're feeling unappreciated. You're feeling like the world is ungrateful, and you have every right. You have every right. You have every single right to feel that way. But you cannot fix it by taking the wrong actions. The problem that got you there is someone else's action. Someone else's action is outside of what you would have done in that scenario. And you cannot fucking believe your ears. You cannot believe it. How dare you disrespect me? How dare you disregard me? How dare you be so inconsiderate after everything I've done to love you, help you, partner with you, believe in you? Fill in the blanks, people, because you look, I would love to hear how many of you literally, please write this in. I want to see the response to this damn question. How many of you have felt like someone close to you, and I mean someone close to you, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a family member, whether it's a business partner, a very good friend, or even best friend, how many of you truly feel like you have been betrayed, lied to, cheated, or just blatantly disregarded by one of these people near you? I would love to see you guys vote in. Please hit up our Instagram, You Unscripted Podcast, and just answer the question, yes or no, I have felt betrayed by someone close to me. Please write that in. I want to see what happens, because everybody should be responding to this. There isn't a single person in the world, no matter what your color, creed, faith, flavor, it doesn't matter what the hell you are, who you are, what you eat. All of you have at some point felt this horrible feeling. When I started talking to Valerie, I was in a pit of darkness internally. Externally, you couldn't tell. Well, maybe if you actually know me, you could tell. But for the most part, those people who didn't know me couldn't. And Valerie very slowly and very carefully started to give me the cues and the clues and the rope I needed to pull myself out of this hell by literally starting with, you have to hold yourself accountable. Like, yes, people, everyone else outside of you has done something to you that has just been shitty and understood, but you're still responsible for yourself.
That is the only thing that you have control over. You don't have control over how somebody else is going to treat you, receive you, perceive you, but you do have control over yourself, your evolution, your healing, your own self-perception. And if your own self-perception is skewed or dark or negative, you can change that. You can change that. Remember, you guys, I started out with a lot of shame and self-hate. I felt that I was dirty on the inside. I felt like I was a bad person on the inside because of all the shame that I carried for years. So if you have a self-perception that is not positive, then that self-perception is going to radiate outward, and you will attract situations that will treat you like you feel about yourself on the inside. And then also your standards are not going to be very high. So it's really important that you heal your self-perception so that you can go out into the world and hold your head up high. It's really important. And a good way to do that, to start with, is first start with asking yourself these deep questions is, why do I not feel good about myself? What is it about me that I dislike so much? Is it a memory from some childhood trauma that you've never addressed? Because if so, then that's probably one of your core wounds and you can start there. But if you need to start more at the surface level, just ask yourself, what is it that I don't like about myself? Is it my weight? Is it my physique? Is it what I'm eating? Is it the fact that I don't feel smart enough? Because all of that can be fixed. That can be improved. So start getting honest with yourself about the things that you don't like about yourself versus running from it and pretending that it's not there. Because then you're just on this hamster wheel of insecurity, and nothing is ever going to change.
That's a really good way to explain, I think, the hamster wheel of insecurity. Like for me, that was something like literal. I felt all my life like I was never sufficient. Now, granted, I have a different background and maybe a lot of you can relate to it. I am the child of immigrants to the United States. I am a first generation American, which means my parents immigrated to this country, and I am the only person in my family that was born in the United States. They entered the country legally. They entered the country with papers. They entered the country and made something of themselves. They've always been incredible, supportive, wonderful citizens. But when you grow up in a family like that, you have a lot of issues with acceptance in your new culture, right? Your culture at home may be very much like the culture of the country your family immigrated from, because that's what's comfortable. But your culture externally, as the child or young person growing up in, let's say, for instance, the United States of America, because just for everybody's awareness, the United States is not America. It is on the continent of America. So there's the United States of America, of course, refers to this nation that we're in, of the United States of America. My parents are from another country on this continent. So we are still Americans, but they came to the United States. And so in this particular country, there is the expectation that you just right away can speak English, all those things. And when you're trying to fit in so many ways, because you're also stuck in between this rock and a hard place, you're trying to fit in with your friends at school and the culture outside, but you're also trying to hang on to the culture that came with your family. And, Chicanos in the United States have had a hell of a time for that exact reason. You're not USA enough, but you're also not Mexican enough, or you're not Colombian enough, or you're not Panamanian enough, or you're not Honduran enough, or Salvadorian enough, or Nicaraguan, or whatever the other element is, Jamaican, Chinese, Japanese, whatever the case is, right? You're not that enough. So you're always stuck in this state of in-betweenism. I am a little bit this and I am a little bit that, but I'm not any one of those things all the way. And that can eventually, right? You can grow up with this perception that you're never enough, which was really one of the things, maybe one of the predominant things that was affecting me and my psyche as I grew up and went through all these different experiences in my life is, well, what the fuck? Where do I fit? Where do I fit? Because you don't really fit anywhere. And eventually, that, of course, had an impact on me and my ability within the level of health within my relationships was also impacted. And that's business, personal, or otherwise, right? We don't want to be in that space, ladies and gentlemen. We don't want to live in that space, that insecure awareness of ourselves. And I think Valerie has a really good way. Val, if you don't mind sharing that with everybody, what's a good way of giving yourself the credit that you deserve, giving yourself grace, as you've explained to folks before? What's a good way to do that, to really connect with yourself and to validate your own feelings?
I learned something in mirror work by Lisa Nichols, and I think it's a really powerful exercise. So if you can do this for 30 days straight, is look yourself in the mirror, no looking away, and you're going to talk to yourself as though you're talking to your best friend. And you look yourself in the mirror and you say, Ilka, I love you. And then the second statement is, Ilka, I'm really proud of you for, and you say something that anything you're proud of yourself for. The third statement is going to be, Ilka, I forgive you for. Tell yourself whatever you're going to forgive yourself for. This exercise is so powerful. I did it for 30 days. It brought tears to my eyes because can you imagine you're looking yourself in the face, in the eyes, and you're telling yourself, I forgive you for what's going to come out of your mouth? There's
Wow.
so much, right?
Really,
There's
right, you
so
guys?
much. So you're giving yourself grace. And then you're going to end that with Ilka, I love you. So you're going to start it with I love you. And you're going to say your name. You have to say your name. And you're going to treat yourself as though you are talking to your best friend. So it's your name and I love you. Keep the eye contact. I'm proud of you for. I forgive you for. And then again, Ilka, I love you. And do that every single day for 30 days. This will help you improve your self-perception. And not only that, but you're also practicing forgiveness for yourself. You know, a lot of people go through life carrying a lot of resentment and they think that they have resentment for other people, which they might, but there's also so much self-resentment. And that self-resentment radiates out into the world whenever any little thing triggers us. And we take it out on other people, but there's a lot of self-resentment there.
Self-resentment, you guys, that's a big one. Like, come on. You know, we come on the show and we talk about a lot of really great stuff. And we're talking about, you know, all of these things and all of these concepts and all of this stuff that we've done to get past whatever it was, get to this point where we can talk to you guys about it. We can talk about it and not break down and cry. But let's be honest. Let's be honest. 9 times out of 10, and this is my personal opinion, you guys let me know what you think. But I feel like 9 times out of 10, we're the most angry with ourselves. That we didn't pay attention to that sign, that red flag, or the 3,000 red flags that we ignored, that we didn't hear that voice, that we didn't listen to that voice inside our hearts or our heads saying, stop this, you're better than this, get away from this, you don't deserve this. And we ignored it. In fact, Valerie and I were talking about this. When you marry someone, like you got there, you literally got to the point where you loved someone so much that you actually got married. Like married, you guys, married for real, not hooked up, not shacked up, but you literally went and did it twice. You went and filled out the paperwork, which was number one. And then you went and you had a whole freaking ceremony. Oh no, and that's when it got worse because you made a commitment not only to this other person, but to God. Look, for me, that was it. For me, that was it. And to be honest with you, it wasn't even about the commitment to the other person as much as it was the commitment that I made to God to help me, to bless me, to support me in the journey of being someone's wife, of hopefully being someone's mother, of creating a family, of doing all this stuff. And honestly, I knew from the very beginning that I should have never done that. I knew from the very beginning, I knew it. And I know a lot of you did too. So look, let's hold hands virtually and figuratively speaking. We're going to hold hands right now. Close your eyes right now. Everybody all over the damn world listening, and admit to yourself that it's okay, that you made a mistake, because there is nothing wrong with falling in love. You did not lie to yourself. The other person did. You did not cheat yourself. The other person did. But you do have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself, because it is not a bad thing that you fell in love. It's not a bad thing that it didn't work out. It's not a bad thing that you may want that again in your life. You're not a failure for a failed relationship, no matter what type of relationship that is. But if there's anything that Valerie taught me, it is this, you guys. And I am sharing it with you with all the passion in the world, because I'm literally living this right now. You have got to stop beating yourself up. Because you know what? Isn't that what they did? Why are you treating yourself badly? Like the people that you can't stand, that they did that to you. Why are you doing that to yourself? And Valerie stopped that self-hatred. She stopped that self-resentment. She helped me stop that self-resentment because I loathed myself for falling for it, you guys. I fucking hated myself for falling for this fucking bullshit.
You can't heal your story by casting stones at it. You can't heal yourself through beating yourself up. That's not how healing works. That's why giving yourself grace and practicing self-forgiveness is so important.
And that's why you're angry, you guys. That's why you're angry. You're angry because someone cheated you, because someone got in and you weren't good enough to defend yourself, or at least you think so. You know, you get so good at being mean to yourself, and you get so good at hurting yourself that honestly, after a while, you don't even realize that person's not the person doing it anymore. You're doing it to yourself.
You become your own abuser.
Facts. Wow.
You become your own abuser.
That is huge. That is huge, you guys. Please listen to that. You become your own abuser. Valerie, take us to a point where we can move beyond that. How do we get beyond that self-resentment?
I would say take a look at your life and look at the patterns in your life. Who are you surrounding yourself with? What do your weekends look like? Because you can tell a lot by what you're doing with your time and your patterns of behavior. So say, for example, when I was living a self-destructive lifestyle, I didn't know it at the time. I was knee deep in alcoholism, but that's not what I told myself. What I told myself was, I just want to go out and have a good time. I just want to take the edge off. I just want to party. I just want to have fun. But really, when you look at the patterns of my life and behavior, I was blacking out almost every weekend. I was waking up in strange places with strange people. I was driving drunk. I was driving blacked out. So if you look at the patterns of my behavior, then I could look at the whole picture and say, oh, this is not somebody who loves themselves. This is not self-love. This is self-hatred. This is shame. This is somebody who's in a rush to escape themselves every single weekend. So look at your patterns of behavior. Are you surrounding yourself with people that put you down? And are you going along with it? Are you enabling it? Go from there. And what you're going to have to do is admit to yourself the thing that you don't want to admit to yourself. An alcoholic does not want to admit to themselves that they are an alcoholic, but admitting to that is the first step in changing it, because denial gets you nowhere. Denial does not invite healing in. Honesty does. Honesty opens the door for God to come in and say, let me help you.
You'll hear Valerie and I talk about God, and you may have a God, you may not have a God. We don't care who your God is. We respect you. We bless you. We want all of those good things to come your way, whether it's God or goddess or gods or goddesses, whatever it is that you believe in. The point is that faith is important to us. I don't even know if we practice the same faith, but we each have our own faith. And if you have your own faith, we want you to know that we respect that. And please substitute that when we say our God or whatever it is that we're referring to in reference to having that kind of faith and moral reference, please interject your own, because these thoughts and ideologies and issues are not discriminatory. You know, pain does not know color or creed. Hurt happiness does not know color or creed. Everyone in the world is able to experience all of these things and may have. I just wanted to briefly cut in there, Val. Sorry to interrupt you, but I wanted to make sure that no one ever feels left out when we are making references. Please interject your own God, your own faith in those areas. Or if you are agnostic, please just think as such. Whatever it is that fuels your function. We're with you, we support you, but please support us too in that.
Respectfully.
Respectfully, absolutely.
You guys, it's never too late to make the right choices. I got sober, I think I was 36 when I got sober. Going on 7 years this year.
Hey!
Whoop, whoop.
That's such an accomplishment.
I think we need that bell right now. The sound effects.
You all know what it is. You all know what it is. Don't act like you don't.
Yeah, so it's never too late to make the right choices for yourself. When you start getting honest with yourself about these patterns of behavior that you're noticing about yourself, where they're promoting unhappiness or some sort of self-destructive lifestyle, keep in mind that when you decide to change it, it's going to be hard at first, but it's not always going to be hard. The first 6 months of getting sober was really difficult. I had to isolate in order to not be tempted. And then the first year it was hard. First 2 years, I would say they were hard. I was getting cravings often, but into the third year and so on, it got easier. And now it's a lifestyle. Now I have zero interest in drinking at all. Doesn't cross my mind. I'm around alcohol all the time. I don't get tempted. I was at a company event not too long ago and they had a surplus of tequila bottles. And so they gave me a bunch of them to give out to my friends. I still have them in my pantry downstairs. Like, I don't get tempted to drink at all. And it's the good tequila. And yeah, I don't.
As opposed to the shit tequila. Let's be sure that we're making this very clear. Val has super skin now.
I think it's Don Julio.
Oh, wow. See, then there you go.
Yeah. And I'm not tempted at all. So what I'm trying to say by that is whatever change you're going to make is going to be difficult at first, but it's not always going to be difficult. So keep in mind that the things that have the power to transform your life are not going to be easy, especially at first, but they do have the power. That's why they're so powerful with your transformation. If it were easy, then everybody would do it. But if you truly want to transform, then it's going to be something that's going to be challenging to you, but it will change your life. When I first got sober, I thought my life was over. I thought I'm never going to have fun again. That was the narrative in my mind. And I thought my life was over, but that was the beginning of a rebirth. But I didn't know that at the time. I thought my life was over, but that was the beginning of a new chapter. Fuck that. That was like a new book being written. And so that was the best decision I ever made. So scary at first, change is scary, but it will transform your life. So getting honest with yourself about your patterns of behavior is step number 1, is admitting to yourself you have a problem, whatever that problem might be. For me, it was alcohol. For me, it was the need to go within to figure out why I didn't love myself. And I was able to identify some deeply rooted core wounds from childhood that I had never addressed. But in addressing those, I set my inner child free. In addressing those, I made peace with my inner child, who I was always in battle with. I hated her. I was disgusted by her. That truth set me free. Because in making peace with her, then I was able to finally allow her to let her tell her story and to forgive her and love her and embrace her and accept her. And And all the while, I'm also getting sober. So there's no more drowning her. All those years I was drinking, I was trying to drown her. I didn't want to listen to her. I didn't want to hear her or see her. I didn't want to have anything to do with her. So get honest with yourself about the things that you're pushing down, that you're trying to distract yourself from. They have the power to change your life, and your deeply rooted joy is on the other side of that. That's why I'm so passionate about this work that I do with Ilka and with my other clients and with hypnotherapy. Through hypnotherapy is a game changer. Hypnotherapy goes directly into the subconscious mind and reprograms the things that are programmed in there from the age of 7 and before age 7. So it's very powerful stuff. Like if you have a belief in your subconscious mind that tells you, I'm not good enough to ... XYZ, that can be reprogrammed in one session. So that is a game changer.
It is true. And I think, one of the things that I want folks to also kind of process, I'm sure so many of you, the second that you hear someone talk about an inner child, oh man, eyes roll. Oh God, right? So many comments that are dispelling this concept. And let me say something to you guys. I understand you. I understand why you think about that. I understand why you think that's weird. I understand why you think that's corny. I understand why you don't want to deal with it, because you don't think that that has anything to do with what you're feeling or why you went to prison or what happened, or you're saying, hey, nope, what child has nothing to do with the child. Well, let me tell you something. It actually does. All the years, all the times that you've ever heard somebody make this reference to the inner child on some real shit, like being completely honest with you guys, that is where your problem is at. Your problem or problems lie very specifically in the mind of a child who was hurt, who was not loved, who was not attended to, who did not feel that they had any help, who did not feel heard, who was in fact hurt physically or otherwise, who was convinced that love was something else, who was convinced that silence was the answer, who was convinced that reaching out for help wasn't okay. All of those things that happened to you from 7 and beyond, backwards, from 7 to your younger years. All of those things are the center. They are the epicenter for your insecurities. They are the epicenter for your fears. They are the epicenter for all of those things that you have inside you, that you hide and that you harbor and that you refuse to bring to the surface because it's too painful. The majority of that happened from 7 and back. So that's what hypnotherapy addresses, right? That's what therapy addresses. That's what talking to someone will allow for that pressure to be released. You guys, don't disregard what we're saying. Try for a second to open your mind, because I guarantee you that if you try to think of memories from 7 and before, you're going to run into a memory that is not pleasant, and you will immediately notice that you will shut that down quicker than anything else that you do. You will get up, you will literally physically stand up, go do something, get in a car, drive to somewhere, a bar, wherever it is. You're going to try to find a way to eliminate that thought from your mind. That is how you know that you have trauma, and it is okay. It's okay. We all do. I'm literally on the show with my life coach, my therapist, my friend, my hypnotherapist, my everything. She's my guide out of this crap that I've been living in for the last lots of years. I'm lots of years old, you guys. And you should not live a whole life with this crap. You're carrying this unnecessarily. And Valerie has been instrumental, and I mean instrumental, at helping me face my fears, at helping me change those core memories and that pain through hypnotherapy. Doing this mirror work that she talked about was one of the most difficult things that I've had to do. It's very hard, you guys. You feel like a dork standing in front of the mirror talking about, Ilka, I love you. What? Bro, at first I couldn't do that. There was no way. I couldn't even stand in the mirror and look at myself because I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was funny. I thought it was weird. I thought it was all those things. And eventually, I got strong. Eventually, I was able to talk to myself. Eventually, now, depending on where I'm at, I'm almost borderline having a whole conversation with myself. But I feel good. I feel better. I feel stronger. And I owe it to this amazing woman who has taken on this podcast with me to deliver this message to the world. Like, I'm not holding back. I'm not holding back so much that we decided to do this show so that I could tell you, we could tell you around the world, no one is perfect. No one is perfect. It is okay to be imperfect. That is what makes you perfect and beautiful and amazing.
Yeah, what inner work does is that it helps you make peace with your imperfections. You're not consumed by shame because of your imperfections anymore. You can take accountability. You can look yourself in the mirror and say, I forgive you for. And that's so beautiful because then you're just comfortable in your skin. You're comfortable looking at another human being and humbling yourself in front of them and saying, hey, I'm sorry. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. That wasn't right. I'm sorry. But there's no shame. There's just, fuck, I'm a human being. Like, sorry, like, shit, sue me. No,
You know
don't sue
what's
me.
sexy, you guys? You know what's sexy? I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think it's super sexy if you're honest. I think it's super sexy if you could stand in your truth. I think it's
Fuck
super
yeah.
sexy when people say, you know what? I actually made that mistake myself. No matter who they are, no matter how rich, no matter how successful, no matter how whatever it is that they are or aren't. I think it's super sexy when a person stands in their truth because
Fuck
it
yeah.
makes you stand tall. It makes you speak loud. It gives you confidence because you have nothing to hide. There's nothing to fear. You're 100% in your skin. And that is hot, ladies and gentlemen. That is hot.
That is hot. And you know what's such a big turnoff is liars, people that are dishonest. To me, it's such a big turnoff because it means that they're really insecure, that they have to manipulate the truth to be able to control a situation.
Ugh. Manipulators should hang from a special hook in hell. But hey, that's just my opinion.
Yeah. So I want to leave the listeners with the hope and inspiration of getting honest with themselves about their insecurities and really going deep into that. As I've shared before, mine was not loving myself and then the patterns of behavior that are surrounding your life and how you're living your life, we'll say. Because if you take a look at that and you see that there's patterns that are destructive or negative or not serving you, then there's work to do. And I'm telling you that if you do that work wholeheartedly and you focus on who you want to become versus who you've been, and you can forgive yourself for who you've been, then you will move forward and you can become the best version of yourself. And you can get to this level of feeling fully confident in your skin. And I'm here to help coach you through that process. Please share your stories with us at You Unscripted Podcast on Instagram, or you can email us at youunscripted@valeriezapeta.com.
You guys are awesome. We are getting more and more excited to speak to you guys every week. And, Valerie had some really amazing thoughts for you guys to take with you. Let me add one thing. You are in control of you. It is your choice how you respond to anything external of you. And remember, it is your choice also to give yourself strength, to give yourself love, and to give yourself empowerment, no matter who doesn't. You can. And remember that every day, you guys. This is Ilka D.
This is Valerie Z, and this is the You Unscripted podcast.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.